What's up everyone, King Crab's back again today. And so today I want to look at the NatDex Monotype. So I've finished all the types in Generation 8, I've done a tier list, I've done my thoughts on all those types. So I want to try and move on to the NatDex as I really enjoy doing Showdown Lives and hopefully you enjoy watching them too. So with that I do intend to tackle all 18 types in the NatDex, though it's probably going to be a slower series as I am working on other projects in the background. If you are interested in watching me work on those projects, I am going to start streaming them on my Twitch channel, which I have linked in my bio, so definitely go check that out if you're interested. So with that, let's look at the NatDex. So my first impression before even looking at the types is the NatDex is going to be probably a bit more similar to Generation 7 Monotypes, the Generation 8, which is good because Generation 7 is probably where I cut my teeth on Monotypes and where I probably really learned a lot of the things I did. I've been playing Monotypes since Generation 5, but I think I only particularly got maybe proficient in Generation 7, so I have dipped my toe in National Dex, but not enough to really know much about the meta. So today I want to look type by type and kind of discuss fun Pokemon that I'm looking forward to using. Starting with the normal type, I'm really looking forward to Mega Lopunny. First of all, I think Mega Lopunny is a super good Pokemon. You can give, I think, base Lopunny, if I'm not mistaken, gets Limber, which is really good. So you can swap into potentially a Glare or a Thunder Wave and then Mega Evolve into Mega Lopunny, which is going to be quite nice. So Mega Lopunny, as well as just being a strong Mega on the team, it does have Scrappy, which is really good for the Ghosts because otherwise normal can struggle to hit Ghost types, especially because it's immune to its stab. But with 136 and 135 offenses is really good, so definitely a fun Pokemon I'm looking forward to using. Next up on the list, we definitely have Staraptor. I think Staraptor is probably the best bird for the normal type. I prefer it over things like Pidgeot, Noctowl, Braviary, which we do use in Generation 8. But Staraptor is quite strong, 120 attack is nice, Intimidate is a really good tool, especially because normal is quite bulky in general. It can pivot around at U-turn, especially now that it gets heavy duty boots, gets Defog, can check fighting types in the tiers, so overall a great Pokemon. Other Pokemon I'm looking forward to using, I have to admit, where is he? He should be down here somewhere. Actually, Meloetta, now that I see it, Meloetta is definitely a Pokemon that's pretty good on the normal type. It's okay, stat-wise, it's pretty good, like base 600 is not bad at all. It's a little frail on the physical side, but that's okay, it more than makes up for it. With 128 special attack and 128 speed def, it's particularly good, I think. With an Assault Vest, this thing is really bulky, and honestly, normal type has no shortage of clerics. Things like Teleport Chance you can potentially wish into Meloetta to heal it up, and this can be really good against the fighting types again in the tier, as its Psychic typing helps check it. With Serene Grace as well, we have nice access to maybe things like Psychic. I think it gets Thunder, so it can easily spread status effects or drop in your opponent's specials, your stats, which is quite nice. Porygon Z is what I was looking for originally, and Porygon Z, I know it's in Generation 8, but now it gets access to Z Crystals, so Z Conversion Porygon Z is going to be so much fun. It's a Pokemon I really enjoy using. It gets +1 to every stat and changes its typing. I think people generally go for either Electric type with Discharge, and then use Ice Beam for Bolt Beam coverage, which is fantastic, especially with +1 everything. Alternatively, you can use Shadow Ball in your first slot to transform into a Ghost type, which makes you immune to fighting types, which is super good, while also getting the +1 to everything. Personally, I like running Recover in my Porygon Z. It can really mess up with like Sucker Punch Pokemon. It can get you HP back, because otherwise Porygon Z is kind of dead in the water if it Z converts, because it can only do that once per match. If you have to swap out, it becomes less useful when it comes back in. As well as that, Z Crystal is going to be a nice knockoff kind of sponge on the team, especially Mega Lopunny as well. Actually, it'll be able to easily eat knockoffs, which can give normal type trouble because they do like an EVO-like core. And next up, and last but not least, we have Smeargle. So Smeargle, its stats are atrocious. 125 is truly awful. However, it does have access to almost every move in the game, which is crazy good, thanks to its attack sketch, which copies any Pokemon, making this thing one of the best hazard setters in the game. You can set up sticky webs, spikes, stealth rocks. You can spore your opponent. You can even grab momentum with like Memento or Parting Shot into your ally Pokemon. This thing is just a nightmare for setting you up, and unless your opponent has something like Rapid Spin or Defog, they are in for trouble. So next up on the list, we do have the fighting types. So let's look up some fighting Pokemon. So immediately my mind goes to Blaziken and Mega Metachan. However, I know both of those are unfortunately banned from the tier, so we will not be using those at all. Though Komodo is really good in National Dex, I'm pretty sure, because it does have access to its Z Clangorous Soul, as well as having I think it's the regular Clangorous Soul that got this generation, so it can potentially get +2 or +3 to every stat. Even more, I guess, if you have something like Drain Punch to recover HP, so that's really good, because I think Komodo is generally quite good on fighting anyway. We can't use Mega Lopunny as it doesn't have fighting type before Mega Evolution, unfortunately. Mega Gallade can be nice, especially as like kind of a soft check to some Psychic types, because it does take neutral damage, as well as having really good special defense, which a lot of Psychic types prefer to use. And this attack stat is actually really high, honestly a lot higher than I expected. It also has access to Shadow Sneak, which is really good to take care of the Psychic types, though you do have to worry because Psychic types do often rely on Psychic Terrain, which does block priority. Mega Heracross, great Pokemon. I really enjoy using this thing. It has a Herculean 185 attack, and Skill Link means it can effortlessly break through basically anything in the game. Though it is a little on the slow side, so you do have to worry about that, and I think overall, I don't know if it brings as much to the fighting type as maybe it would to the bug type. Let's look who else we have. At the time of making this video, Urshifu isn't banned. I know it's not necessarily a new tool, I've used it before in Generation 8, but it's going to be fun to use again, especially to take care of Psychic types. Breloom is probably a Pokemon I've missed the most. I really miss this menace. Clicking Spore and Priority Mach Punch, Technician boosted Bullet Seeds is just so fun. Its 130 attack is quite impressive, especially after a Swords Dance, which it can generally do thanks to Spore. And finally, and last but not least, we do have Infernape. Infernape's a Pokemon I'm honestly a big fan of, but I've never really been sure how to use it. But I think it's going to have a strong niche on the fighting type. Its fire typing is pretty nice to eat up fairy types neutrally. As well as that, fighting is just generally a pretty strong offensive type, so that should be pretty fun to use. So I am looking forward to trying mono fighting. So next up we have Flying. And flying wise, we have a good few more tools, which I think honestly is the last thing Flying needed, because Flying is already a fantastic type. I obviously don't know how it stacks up in National Dex. I haven't really played the format too much, but let's look at some Pokemon again. We have Megazard Y, which is going to be a really good special wall breaker. With Drought, it instantly sets Sun, so your flamethrowers are going to be a lot stronger. You can run Solar Beam for water types. As well as that, it could potentially actually help your team have Weather Ball, which is nice for dealing with steel teams, because a lot of flying types do get Weather Ball this generation, and the Sun will let that break through steel types. Gliscor is another one I'm really looking forward to using. This thing is really bulky, especially with Poison Heal Toxic Orb. It's almost impossible to stall this thing out. It gets access to Stealth Rock, Defog, Knock Off, which are really good team support options, while generally just being really bulky as well, so that's going to be quite fun. Mega Aerodactyl is one of the few things I've actually used in NatDex. I've been playing a bit of Rock because I really enjoy Rock, but I'll get around to that when I talk about that more. And this thing is so strong right now with Dragon Dance. So this thing's speed is already mega impressive at base 150, and its attack is nothing to sniff at 135. On top of that, it actually has access to Tough Claws and Dual Wing Beat. It finally got a serviceable flying move. Not the best, I still would like to see it get Brave Bird, but Dual Wing Beat is nothing to sniff at because it does hit twice. And therefore it can break through, Sash, Sturdy, all those kind of good stuff. And Mega Aerodactyl is just generally very strong. With the team support that Flying has, I definitely think this thing could have a strong niche. Let's see what else we have. Honchkrow is a Pokemon I think is really slept on. I've really been enjoying using Honchkrow in Generation 7. I think it's quite strong on 125 base, and also it gets Moxie. In National Dex, Pursuit is back, so you can easily trap Pokemon, Pursuit them, and get a KO, thus getting you a Moxie boost, and then when the next Pokemon comes in, you can potentially Sucker Punch them with a +1 Sucker Punch, stab Honchkrow. Especially with like Life Orb or something, this thing is really strong and can really bully a lot of Pokemon in the tier. And as well, its special attack is pretty serviceable at 105, so it can even run things like Heat Wave if you're worried about Steel types like Ferrothorn maybe. Or if you're worried about them trying to read your Sucker Punch or Pursuit, it can run something like Brave Bird, again coming off 125 base attack. It's going to be very strong. I think that's it for a lot of the flying types I'm looking forward to using. There's nothing else there that particularly takes my fancy. Maybe Mega Pidgeot. That can be pretty fun. With No Guard, you can spam things like Hurricane, Heat Wave. Hidden Power is back, so we do have some Hidden Power for Pidgeot, though I do think overall I'm not too big a fan of Mega Pidgeot in a Monotype just because I don't think it brings too much to the table that other Pokemon of its type don't. So with that, let's move on to the next type, the Ground type. For the Ground type, immediately, of course, we do have Mega Garchomp. I'm personally not the biggest fan of Mega Garchomp, though I do think it's better on ground than it is on Dragon because of Sand Force. Naturally, ground types love having sand and try to play in sand as much as possible. So Sand Force Mega Garchomp could be a crazy strong wall breaker. It does have 175 attack, which is disgustingly powerful. And now that it has Scale Shot as well, it actually has a reliable way of increasing its speed. Gliscor, much like Mono Flying, is going to be really fun. It's going to be a very bulky Pokemon, though I don't think it's going to bring as much to the table as maybe it would in Flying because it doesn't provide fantastic immunities for the ground type like it does for Flying with the immunity to Electric type. Hidden Power is also back in the NatDex, so Gliscor does have to be afraid of Hidden Power Ice, which is a bit of a shame. So overall, probably not the best tool, but one I'm looking forward to using nonetheless. Donphan is a hidden threat of a Pokemon that I've seen a lot of other Pokemon YouTubers using, like PokeMD and Blunder, I think they did in their, is it Megas to High Ladder, they used Donphan to quite effective usage, and I think it looked really fun. With the heavy duty boots, it can run Sturdy, you can run free Rapid Spin, you can Earthquake something, you can Ice Shard. I'm not sure if it gets Endeavor. Does it get Endeavor? It gets Endeavor, so you could potentially drop to Sturdy, thanks to heavy duty boots, Endeavor your Pokemon, and then potentially Ice Shard them, which could be really, really good to take care of any Pokemon that's really threatening you. Camerupt is my absolute favorite Pokemon in the series, so I would be remiss to not say I'm looking forward to using him. Though he's not amazing, I do think Mega Camerupt does have some role on the ground team. Its fire typing is good for breaking through a lot of grass types, a lot of ice types in that tier, which naturally can give the ground type trouble, so I'm going to try my best to use Mega Camerupt on my ground team. No promises, but I will try. And I think that's kind of it from the ground team. We have Mega Steelix, I suppose. Mega Steelix is pretty fun. It's really, really bulky, like 230 defense is nothing to sniff at. It can easily wall a lot of grass types, especially something like Rillaboom, which will really give your team trouble, or some ice types will give your team trouble. Its part steel typing makes it super bulky. It does get access to body press now, which is really good, though personally I don't particularly like its mega because Sand Force to me is a wasted ability. I think I'd rather leftovers on Steelix and maybe, what other megas does it get? I guess Mega Camerupt would probably be the one I'd go for on ground, or Mega Garchomp. So I do think Mega Steelix has a role, but personally wouldn't be my go-to Pokemon. Next up we have the Bug type, and the Bug type really, actually sorry, we have the Rock type next to my bad. I'm going by a list of types here on Bulbapedia, so let me talk about this first. So for the Rock type, we do have Mega Tyranitar. It's not something I use too often, but with Dragon Dance, it can be really strong. This thing is stupid bulky. It can also override opposing weather, so maybe your opponent set up rain and overrides your Sandstream. If you Mega Evolve afterwards, you get your Sandstream back up, and that's pretty really good for the Rock type. As generally they like to use Sand, they don't want your opponent having weather control at any point in time, so Mega Tyranitar can be fun, though my heart belongs to Mega Aerodactyl. I discussed it briefly on Mono Flying, but Mega Aerodactyl is so strong. With the Sand boost it gets from Tyranitar, its special defense is actually pretty good because it gets +1 special defense effectively. Its flying typing makes it neutral to grass and fighting, which is really good because I do think fighting is quite popular on NatDex, so that's quite nice. As well as that, again, its dual wing beat with Tough Claws is crazy strong. It can easily tear through grass types, through fighting types, honestly through most non-resist in the tier. And I do think Flying is a really good offensive type, so definitely looking forward to using Mega Aerodactyl. As well as that, Mega Diancie is fantastic. Mega Diancie has really impressive stats, honestly, with 700 BST is crazy. And besides its HP, it's super impressive. Can run a fantastic mixed set with attack and special attack. It gets things like Diamond Storm, Moonblast, and its fairy typing is again fantastic for the fighting types in the tier. Moonblast is going to eat up so much of the fighting types. Its Diamond Storm has a 50% chance of increasing its defense by 2 stages, making this thing even more bulky so you don't have to focus too much on defense while still being crazy bulky, so Mega Diancie is going to be super fun. I forgot to mention as well, Magic Bounce is fantastic because oftentimes I feel like rock types don't necessarily want to waste time taunting or defogging or rapid spinning, so Magic Bounce can be a great option for that. Aggron is also usable, maybe not the best Pokemon, but Heavy Duty Boots Sturdy with something like Metal Burst could be really fun for water types in the tier who give you trouble, but maybe not the best, as I said. Other than that, actually, I think Magcargo is really good. I've been using Magcargo a small bit, and I really have to admit this thing is quite good against, again, the Steel matchup, the Grass matchup, which are two things that naturally give rock trouble. It's going to give you no real value in water or fighting unless you fish for a flame body. But why I think Magcargo is better this generation is because of heavy duty boots. It also has access to recover, things like Will-O-Wisp, so this thing can be really bulky and really good defenses. This thing can be really bulky and hard to take down for a lot of physical Pokemon, especially if you invest in something like HP. They run the risk of getting flame bodied every time they come in contact. If not, you can Will-O-Wisp and recover things off while being completely immune to stealth blocks thanks to heavy duty boots, so that's going to be really fun. Now let's move on to the bug type. I do think bug got a lot in the national deck, so this is a type I'm really looking forward to using, especially on the mega front. There's so many megas I can choose from. So first up we have Mega Scizor, and Mega Scizor is really strong, though personally I wouldn't choose to use it over other megas just because I think the difference between regular Scizor and Mega Scizor isn't as big as maybe the difference between something like regular Pinsir and Mega Pinsir, for example. I think there's a bigger gap between those. Though Mega Scizor is still going to be very strong, it's just basically the same as Scizor but better. Mega Heracross we discussed briefly in fighting, and this thing's going to be crazy strong, especially I've seen someone on ladder run a support Illumise with Prankster Tailwind, and then goes into their Heracross, and this thing is crazy scary. It gets Moxie before it Mega Evolves, so if you can score a kill in base form, you get +1 before Mega Evolving, and this thing has 185 attack, which is stupidly strong. With Skill Link and Pin Missile, Arm Thrust, Bullet Siege, there's very little in the tier that's going to eat this. I quite like Pinsir. I think Mega Pinsir is very strong. It gets access to Aerialate, which is good for things like Return or Frustration. If you want to catch Dittos off guard, you get Quick Attacks, which is quite nice for Priority, which Bug generally quite likes, but a Stab Aerialate boosted Quick Attack is very good for Pinsir, which is good. Next up we have Beedrill Mega, which is another Mega slot you can potentially run on your Bug team, which is going to be very strong. So Mega Beedrill has adaptability paired with its Bug and Poison typing, gets some crazy strong moves, like you can get I think 100 base Fell Stinger, and if you manage to score a KO you get +3 stages of attack, which is kind of stupidly good. As well as that you get adaptability U-turn, which is good for grabbing momentum. Its offensive stats are crazy, and I think it's the biggest difference between its base form and its Mega. Of all the bugs, I think Mega Beedrill is definitely the strongest. So paired with something like Sticky Web support or Spike support, Mega Beedrill can absolutely tear through teams. Is there any other Pokemon I'm particularly looking forward to using? Fortress is nice just for sturdy rapid spinning. It does have access to some good hazards like Toxic Spike, Sticky Webs, and Stealth Rock, so that's quite nice. I talked to Illumise briefly with Heracross just for Prankster Tailwind. I've seen that being run a few times, and other than that, I think... Oh, actually, Yanmega is a pretty fun Pokemon with Tinted Lens or Speed Boost and Specs. This thing can be a pretty effective wall breaker, as well as that it actually gets some pretty nice special attacks and pretty nice coverage. So let's move on to the Ghost type, which unfortunately I believe has been hit pretty bad in the national decks. It does have Mega Sableye, which is really good, and this Pokemon is crazy annoying to deal with. Probably one of the most annoying Pokemon in the tier to deal with, thanks to Magic Bounce, access to Recover, Will-O-Wisp, Snarl, Knockoff. Its Dark typing as well is good for the Ghost type because it can eat up opposing Dark or Ghost Pokemon. and just generally a nuisance to take care of. Though unfortunately Spectrier and Dragapult are banned in the national decks, so two very strong tools I got this generation are unfortunately not usable. Mega Bayonet is good too. Prankster Destiny Bond is one of the only things it really does, but it does it to great effect, so I have to mention it here as well. Hoopa can be okay too if you want to run maybe a Trick Room team. Its 150 special attack is quite nice, though its double weakness to Ghost and Dark is not great. So overall, I don't think there's too much I'm looking forward to using on Ghost, unfortunately, but I will definitely give it a try nonetheless. So next up we have the Steel type. The Steel type is already amazing in Generation 8, so I don't think there's too much more I can get. I think Mawile is banned, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. I have a list up here. Yeah, Mawile is banned. Mega Mawile, anyway, is banned. Naturally, because this thing is a monster, so unfortunately there's no use for that. We will have access to Mega Caesar, which I think has maybe more of a role on the Steel team than maybe Bug, because it's not fighting for a Mega position like it is on Bug. Other than that, I don't think there's too much new on Steel, but that's okay because Steel is fantastic anyway. Empoleon's pretty good if you don't want to run Heatran, or you want to run in conjunction with Heatran if you're particularly scared about fire types. So yeah, Empoleon can be quite nice for those fire types. Other than that, there's not too much, I think, stand out on the Steel team. So next up on the list we have the fire type, which I think has gained a lot in the NatDex. It has both access of Megazards. If you want more Sun support, we have Drought Charizard, which is fantastic. We also have Tough Claws Mega Charizard X. If you want the scary Dragon Dance variant, I think both are really good on fire, so definitely looking forward to those. Victini can now run Z Celebrate, which is kind of scary, with stored power like Blue Flare. We have Ball Strike. We have all those kind of fantastic moves Victini gets. So Victini is definitely going to be a pretty big threat as well. Infernape is there as a fighting type if you do want to maybe check those rock types in the tier. You have Mach Punch, I believe. Iron Fist Mach Punch is quite strong for dealing with rock types, which can be quite nice. As well as that, it does have access to Stealth Rocks. It can be a nice lead with Taunt, for example. Unfortunately, I don't think Camerupt has as much of a role in the fire type as maybe it does in the ground team, unless you really want Sun support. But overall, I wouldn't write home about it. Who else do we have? Mega Houndoom can be okay. It has solar power. It's very strong, though I don't see much of a reason to run it over Megazard unless you particularly hate running into Stealth Rocks, because Megazard unfortunately can't run heavy duty boots. Talonflame, I believe, is back. I don't think that's in Generation 8, and Gale Wings can be nice. You can run things like heavy duty boots, Gale Wings with Tailwind, for example, which can be nice to speed up Pokemon like Charizard, both forms of Charizard, Victini, if it wants to run V-Create, for example. So overall, I do think the fire type, thanks to the addition of heavy duty boots, is going to be kind of a threat this generation, mainly because, again, Zard Y is such a big threat and a great Sun support. So now let's look up Fire's Bane, the water type. So unfortunately, I think Ash Greninja is banned, which makes sense. Ash Greninja is crazy strong. But we do have access to regular Greninja, which is really good because Protean is a stupidly strong ability. It can take the form of ice types, bug types at U-turn. We can run Gunk Shot for fairies, just Dark Pulse, and turn to Dark type, losing your water typing, which can be quite good as a defensive option, though of course Greninja's defenses aren't very good. It's still a great ability. We do have access to Mega Swampert, and Mega Swampert is going to be a scary Rain Sweeper, sorry. We already had things like Seismitoad in Generation 8, but imagine Seismitoad, but even buffer. So Swampert's going to be quite strong, base 150. Its base 70 speed looks quite poor, but it does have Swift Swim. And naturally we have Pelipper, we have things like Politoed, which are really good for getting rain up on the team. We have Mega Gyarados as well. I personally wouldn't run it over Mega Swampert unless we're not running a rain team for some reason, in which case Mega Gyarados can be good. We have Mold Breakers, so we can easily Earthquake Levitators and stuff, and base 155 attack is very strong, especially because we can Intimidate or get Moxie before Mega Evolving. Both are quite good support options. Mega Slowbro is probably going to be really good on Soul Water. Its Shell Armor ability means it can't be crits, so as long as you can avoid things like Toxic, and even if we do get Toxic, we do have access to good support on the Water type, and Mega Slowbro can just be a nightmare to deal with. As well as that, we do have Alamomola while talking about clerics. Regenerator can be really good. We have hydration if we want to run on a rain team, but as well as that, it does get access to wish, and I believe is aromatherapy or is it heal bell? I think it gets one. It gets heal bell. No, it doesn't get either. Okay, my bad. I thought this could cure statuses, so maybe we have to run something like Vaporeon on a stalled water team, though Alamomola can be quite strong too. Other than that, I don't think water has too many new tools outside of that, but again, water is an extremely strong type, so it didn't necessarily need those new tools, so anything it got is just a definitive bonus in my opinion. So next up we have the grass type, which I can't imagine has gained too much in the national decks. Due to the popularity of things like bug, flying and fire are definitely going to give it trouble. I believe Kartana is banned. Let me just double check that before spreading false information. Yes, it is banned. As expected, this thing is too strong. It does get Superior, and Superior is really fun. Especially with contrary, things like Leaf Storm is really strong because it gets a guaranteed +2 on every hit. We can also run things like Hidden Power Rock or Hidden Power Fire if we're scared of Steel types, if we're scared of Flying types, Fire types. In general, Hidden Power Rock is quite nice for the Grass type. We have Mega Venusaur as well with Thick Fat, which is good for taking care of Fire and Ice types, which naturally give the team some trouble. So actually Mega Venusaur is a really good tool. Breloom again is a great tool. Much like fighting, we have Spore, we have Technician, Mach Punch, we can clean through Rock teams, Ice teams, Steel teams. A lot of teams in the game absolutely hate Technician, Boosted Stab, Mach Punch, especially with Spore. Does it have any other fantastic tools? Maybe not particularly. Overall, it's not the worst type in the game. Hopefully, maybe. It does have access to some good tools like Mega Venusaur and Superior, though overall I can see it getting maybe outshadowed by a lot of the stronger types, unfortunately. Though I am looking forward to using it. Next up we have the Electric type, and probably before looking at any Pokemon, the biggest asset to the Electric type is the reintroduction of Hidden Power. So Electric can finally run Hidden Power Grass, Hidden Power Ice, all that kind of good stuff. New Pokemon wise, however, we do have Mega Manectric. With Intimidate, it's quite strong. Intimidate, Mega Manectric is very nice. It can grab momentum with things like Vol Switch. We get Flamethrower for Steel types. Things like Ferrothor and Grass types as well give us trouble. And finally, the Hidden Power is going to be good, while just generally providing good team support with Intimidate. Other than that, I don't think it got maybe too much, though thankfully Electric type is quite good this generation, so it's just going to be probably quite good in national decks as well, thanks to the introduction of the Hidden Power. Next up we have Psychic, and Psychic again unfortunately Mega Medicham is banned. We can use Z-Celebrate Victini, not a set I'm personally a huge fan of, but it can be quite strong. Mega Gallade is a nice option. Very strong, has access to good priority with things like Shadow Sneak. Its fighting type can be really good knockoff sponge because it does not take the extra damage thanks to its Mega Crystal. As well as that, it gets the fighting type and make it neutral damage. And before Mega Evolving, you get, I believe, Justified, so you can get a +1. Is it get Justified? Let me check that again. I can't remember. It does get Justified. So you can get +1 attack upon eating a knockoff, Mega Evolve into your Mega form, and wreak some serious havoc. Mega Gardevoir is really good for the Dark types in the tier. 165 special attack is really, really strong. And Pixelate makes this thing's Hyper Voice crazy strong and can easily clean through so many Dark types. The Mega Latis are quite nice too, I believe. If you want particularly strong ones, go for Mega Latios, though Mega Latias can be quite bulky as well. Again, we have Mega Slowbro, though I think Psychic does not want to lose access to Regenerator, so personally I wouldn't see Mega Slowbro being used too much. Now, while talking about Megas, somehow Mega Alakazam is not banned in national decks. I actually tried it the other day and it's super fun. Trace can be fantastic for dealing with weather teams. You can trace Swift Swim, Sand Rush, Chlorophyll, anything like that, and this thing becomes super, super speedy. As well as having crazy 175 special attack, it's very, very strong and can easily clean through teams. You can even copy things like Beast Boost, for example, to make this thing even stronger upon every kill, so definitely a fun Pokemon to use. Other than that, I don't think Psychic got too many new tools. Deoxys Defense is nice if you want a dedicated Taunt lead with some like Spikes support, for example. That's definitely a fun Pokemon to use. Overall, I do think the Psychic type gained quite a bit, so I am looking forward to trying it out in practice and making a video with it. Next up we have the Ice type, and unfortunately, wait, does Ice type have any bans? I think it might have. Cure and Black naturally is banned, as in my opinion it should be, because that thing is crazy, crazy strong. No, it doesn't seem to have too many bans. I think Darmanitan is legal. Let's just check that right now quickly. We'll go to validate. Yep, it's illegal. So we have access to Galarian Darmanitan, which is a great tool for Ice, though Ice unfortunately in the NatDex does have to worry about hidden power fire running around, which is a bit unfortunate. So overall, I don't think Ice got any tools. I think the only two Pokemon off the top of my head that came back are Crabominable and Dugong, who aren't really anything to write home about in my opinion. So overall, it's going to be similar to, I feel, Ice in Generation 8. Next up we have Dragon. Dragon is going to be quite fun, though unfortunately, again, I believe Dragapult is banned, and so is Dracovish. Two strong tools that got this generation. But not to worry, Dragon is going to be strong anyway. We don't have access to Megazard X, unfortunately. We only have access to Mega Garchomp of these Megas, and as I stated earlier, I don't think Garchomp is going to be too good in the Dragon slot because its Sand Force ability is effectively nullified, as we generally won't be seeing Sand use on Dragon teams. Komodo again is going to be quite nice with Clangorous Soul and Z-Clangorous Scales, whatever it's called, to get those nice plus attacks, or plus stats in general. Mega Altaria is going to be crazy strong because we can actually Mega Evolve it, because it's naturally a Dragon type, so it can get its Fairy typing. With Pixelate, its stats aren't the most impressive, but Pixelate Return or Pixelate Frustration can be very strong. The Fairy typing is really good for the Dragon versus Dragon matchup, which is going to be quite scary, and overall a great Pokemon. Dragonite again, Heavy Duty Boots is going to be quite nice, though overall I do think the Dragon type do have to worry about the hidden power ice running around the tier, unfortunately. Next up we have Dark type, and Dark type has Greninja again. Nothing too much to say about Greninja. Its Protean is a fantastic tool on the offensive side and can be pretty good defensively too, if you can predict and change into an immunity. We have Mega Tyranitar as well, though Pursuit coming back actually is a huge thing for the Dark type in general, and I think Tyranitar especially is going to love that, as Pursuit Tyranitar is always a really, really fun tool. We have Mega Sableye as well. If you want to run a bit more defensively, it can be really strong, and this Pokemon is seriously, seriously a nuisance. And then, of course, we have Urshifu unbanned in the tier, which is going to be crazy strong. I don't think it has as much value on Dark as it does on the Fighting type, for example, though still, nonetheless, it's going to be really, really good. Honchkrow as well. I stated this earlier on the Flying team, though I think it might be really good on Dark as well. Again, we get things like Pursuit, Sucker Punch, Brave Bird, Heat Wave, just generally fantastic tools that I'm really looking forward to using. So I think that's going to be mostly it. Oh, actually, Alolan Muck is one that is going to be crazy good. So Alolan Muck has its poison typing, make it neutrally effective from fairy types. You get stab poison moves, which are going to be really good against those fairy types in the tier. Poison Touch and Poison Jab, I think off the top of my head, has a 52% chance of getting poison, which is really, really nice. So that's going to be great for spreading status and general a fantastic Pokemon. So next up we have the Fairy type, and I'm not sure what tools the Fairy type got, so let's have a look here quickly. Unfortunately, again, Mega Mawile is banned, so unfortunately we will not be seeing that, or fortunately, depending on your perspective. We do have Mega Diancie, and Mega Diancie is really, really strong. As we stated earlier on Rock, its base 700 BST is crazy. It has fantastic mixed offenses with 160, 160. Well as having great defenses with 110, 110, and its speed is nothing to sniff at either. Fairy type in general is quite slow, so I think Mega Diancie is a fantastic tool, but Fairy also has pretty decent access to Sticky Web support, thanks to things like Rabombi and Slurpuff, so I do think Diancie is going to have a strong role on the team. Mega Gardevoir can be nice too, especially because its strong Psychic typing can easily dispatch a lot of poison types in the tier, and the only poison types we particularly have to worry about are maybe a Alolan Muck or a Drapion, and I think a Pixelate and maybe even a +1 if you can get a Calm Mind off. A Pixelate, Hyper Voice for example, the poison types are not going to appreciate that thanks to their Dark typing. Other than that, Psyshock or Psychic can easily dispatch most of the team. Gardevoir also gets Trace upon pre-Mega Evolving, so that can be really, really good to copy something like Flash Fire, eat a Magma Storm, maybe eat a Volt Absorb from, or a Volt Plasma Fist, sorry, from Zeraora. Generally quite nice tools. Unfortunately, Mega Altaria is not usable because it does not have Fairy type before Mega Evolving, so not too many tools I think on the Fairy side, but overall the tools it did get are going to be quite strong. So, but last but not least, I almost forgot to do Poison for some reason, which is very unlike me because it's my favorite type. It's not a matter of saving the best for last, I just completely forgot to do it, so let's look over the Poison type right now. So naturally it's still going to have its crazy regen core with Toxapex, the Slow Twins, Amoonguss. We have access to Mega Venusaur if we particularly hate ground types. Mega Venusaur can be quite nice, it can provide good Leech Seed support for the type. It can Giga Drain those ground types. Thick Fat makes it less prone to ice and fire, which is quite nice in general. If you want to go down a more offensive route, we can use Mega Beedrill. Adaptability U-turns are going to be crazy strong. We have adaptability Fell Stinger, Poison Jab if you want to just absolutely break through Pokemon. Though this thing can be a little weak to Steel types, it does have Drill Run, which can be quite nice, especially after a boost potentially from a Swords Dance or a Fell Stinger. We have a Alolan Muck, which is probably the best thing Poison ever wanted, and to me was the best tool I got in Generation 7. I was so happy to see Alolan Muck get in the game, because it's Dark typing. Poison Dark typing is crazy good, only being weak to ground, and the Poison type does have some answers to ground, like we stated a second ago. We have Amoonguss, we have Mega Venusaur, we have Levitate, Weezing, we have Crobat, so we do have plenty of access to ground checks. But what really what makes Alolan Muck stand out is its access to Pursuit. So this can Pursuit trap Psychic types, which the Poison type naturally hates. Maybe you're fighting a Dragon type and they swap in Lati. A Lati you can top into your Muck and suddenly the thing's Pursuit trapped. If it swaps out, it's going to die to Pursuit. If it stays in, it's going to take a lot of damage to Pursuit. As well as that, it has good access to Priority in Shadow Sneak, which can be nice for beating those Psychic types. Knockoff as well is a fantastic team support tool and generally very strong because it is stab boosted and boosted by poison, or potentially can poison with Poison Touch, which can help the team if you want to run Venoshock, Drench, or even Hex, for example. Muck can be a great status spreader, so I think that's probably my favorite tool Poison got and the best one. So that is going to be it for my first impressions from NatDex. I do apologize if it came off a bit rambly at times. This is completely unscripted, so it's just something I thought I had some spare time, so I'll try to upload a quick video. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, let me know down below, and let me know your thoughts on National Dex. Am I wrong in saying a lot of these things? Am I sleeping on some hidden threats? What kind of Pokemon or what kind of types you want to see me use and make videos of first. Definitely let me know down below. I truly appreciate the feedback. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone.